Hello, everyone. Good evening. Welcome back to Reading, Writing, and Ralph, the first episode in April. Things are starting to warm up, so I'm excited about that. Tonight, Ralph is welcoming author Don Gibson, who wrote Two Twists of Fate. And this is actually a memoir, so it's going to be a really personal story. And I think it's going to be a great conversation. We also have some wonderful photos to share with you guys throughout the evening. There will be two trivia questions, I believe. We have cooked these up and we think they're pretty good. So we'll see what you guys think. I'm going to bring Ralph on. Hi, Ralph. How's it going?
Hey, Grace, how are you today?
I am good. We are on a new platform, so I
I
hope things are working out for everyone. Apologize in advance, everyone, if there are technical difficulties, but it's live TV and we are rolling with punches.
Yeah, it's actually uh, today is pretty marks the second anniversary of being on air. So I think this is the 50th episode of
Oh,
Reading,
wow.
Writing, and Ralph.
That's
Well,
amazing.
time goes quickly, and Don and I play golf together on Tuesdays in spring through the fall in a summer league here in Heritage Shores, and interesting times. I think he wrote a very personal a book about um, meeting a wonderful woman who entered his life and then through um, tragic events left him. So hence the name Two Twists of Fate. But
All right.
glad to be on. Glad to be on the new platform. And if we have any technical glitches, just bear with us. So
Yes, I think we'll be good. The golf season should be coming up for you. It was kind of warm today.
we started today, but it
Oh,
was
great.
raining, so it was a little rough. So
Yeah.
we can bring
Well,
Don on.
it'll get better. All right. I will let you two take it away.
Great. Hi, Don.
Hi, Ralph.
How you doing today?
Good, good. Thank you for having me on the program to discuss the book, Two Twists of Fate, One Wonderful and One Devastating.
Yeah.
So I appreciate you having me on.
So how'd you hit him this morning? I didn't get a chance to watch you.
I hit them frequently.
So you got your money's worth.
Got my money's worth.
There you go. That's always good. So tell I always like to ask the authors to tell our viewers a little bit about themselves, their background, sort of so they know who you are. I'm hoping we have a nice audience from Heritage Shores tonight so that they can hear your story and and hear you share your insights to the years with Muriel and beyond. So anyway, so tell us about yourself.
Okay. I was raised in Pittsburgh, on the east side of Pittsburgh. After I graduated from high school, I went to Edinburgh State College, which is a teacher's college up in northwestern Pennsylvania, up near Erie in the snow belt up there.
Mm-hmm.
I was in secondary education, majoring in social studies. And after I graduated from Edinburgh, I went straight to the University of Pittsburgh on an education internship where Pitt set me up with a public school where I taught for a half a day all year and had a mentor from the University of Pittsburgh. Plus, I had certain education credits from the teaching experience. And then in the afternoon, I would go into Pitt, take classes. Sometimes those classes were in the evening. And in the spring 1966, when I was at Pitt, Pitt had a job fair, and they brought in school districts from Pennsylvania, Maryland, and Virginia recruiting teachers. I signed up applications for many of those places. The first one that came to me was a school district in Maryland, and the school was Glen Burnie High School in Glen Burnie, Maryland. Well, I didn't know where Glen Burnie was, so I looked it up on the map. It was a little bit south of Baltimore, close to Annapolis, close to the national capital, and an hour from the beaches. Sound perfect. Sight unseen, I signed up. I taught at Glen Burnie for 33 years in social studies. Of those 33 years, I coached for 23, was assistant coach in football and also in track and field. Um, then after I retired from Glen Burnie, 30 years, you get full pension. I was offered a job at St. Mary's High School in Annapolis and taught there for 6 years and permanently retired in 2004. I was sitting in my house one afternoon. I had an office that kind of overlooked the cul-de-sac that I lived on. And this was in the spring of the year. And I'm looking out there, all the kids are in school and all the adults are working. I'm the only one there. So I decided maybe it was time to find a place to retire. So I looked around for I was looking for a golf course community. I looked at some down in North Carolina, decided that was too far from family. And I saw this brochure about a new development with a golf course in Bridgeville, Delaware, called Heritage Shores. I went there a couple of times. The golf course had not yet been completed. The clubhouse had not yet been completed. There was only about 35 homes in the entire community. I put money down on a lot, bought a lot, and they built the house. And in 2006, I moved into Heritage Shores. That began my retirement. So that's kind of my background.
Right. And then you met Muriel, and how did that change your life?
Mm-hmm. I met Muriel the same year I moved in, because she also moved in 2006. I met Muriel for the first time on the golf course, not a golf course at Heritage Shores, because that hadn't been built yet, but rather a golf course that we went to, the golfers at Heritage Shores went to in the area. And we were teeing off one day and about to tee off, and I was introduced to Muriel. I didn't play with her that day because we were in different foursomes, but I knew who she was because I would see this little red Audi convertible. It's coming down the street when I was standing out, maybe doing some yard work, and it's a convertible. The convertible top would be down. She would be sitting in the driver's seat. Her hair would be flying because she had blonde hair. Music would be playing, probably Elvis. Sitting next to her in the passenger seat were her golf clubs, securely strapped in by the seat belt, because she couldn't get the golf clubs in the small trunk. And that's the first time I really noticed Muriel. And I said, that's kind of neat. I got to meet that person. And I met her. First time I played golf with her was on a golf trip that about 8 people from Heritage Shores took to Myrtle Beach. And she and one other woman went with 8 men. She was not afraid to play with anybody. She'd play with somebody with a 0 handicap or somebody with a high handicap. She was willing to play with everybody. And at breakfast, they would assign our tee times. And one morning at breakfast, I was assigned to be in the same foursome as Muriel, not only in the same foursome, but in the same cart. I think we had a good time. I know we laughed a lot. We lamented about our bad shots. We congratulated each other on our good shots. Unfortunately, I congratulated her more than she did me for the obvious reason. When we got back to Heritage Shores, they were just starting to set up the different groups, the 9-hole group, the 18-hole group. So there's been 18-hole women's league, 18-hole men's league, and 9-hole ladies league, and a 9-hole men's league. She joined the 18-hole ladies league, and I joined the 18-hole men's league. But they also were going to start a couples league to play maybe once or twice a month, and it was going to be more of a social outing. You'd play golf and then you'd have dinner after you played golf. And one of my friends said, "Are you going to join the couples league?" And I said, "Well, I'm not a couple. I can't join the couples league." And then I had a good idea. I knew Muriel was single, so I decided maybe I'll give her a call and see if she wants to play. I called her. She said yes. We became a couple on the golf course, and not long after, we also became a couple off the golf course. That's how I first met Muriel. So,
That's fantastic. So, describe how your life changed and how you felt after that.
well, it was a major change because for 40 years I had been a bachelor. Just happened, not by choice, just happened. And she was a companion for me for 10 years. We enjoyed the good life of retirement. We traveled on golf trips. We played golf in Bermuda. We played golf in Aruba, Curacao. We played golf in Myrtle Beach, Hilton Head. We even went to a golf school in Florida. It didn't help us much, but we had a lot of fun. So every year we'd go on a cruise. So we cruised a lot. She made my life. She changed my life completely. And I'll be eternally grateful for the time period that I had with Muriel.
Right. So, so she fulfilled you. Did you feel as though you could get out more, that you were much more comfortable at Heritage Shores? So describe.
Well, the thing, and you know this, the thing about Heritage Shores is we're basically all there for the same purpose. We're there as retirees. And we worked 40 years, and we're now ready to retire and enjoy life. And if there's so much to do at Heritage Shores that it's easy to enjoy your life. Muriel and I, we had awesome friends, I have awesome friends at Heritage Shores, and we were always with them. We would have dinner with them. We'd play cards with them. So it was just a great atmosphere. And Muriel, she was a very, very kind person. She made sure that everybody was included. If I could talk about golf with her for a little bit, because she was one of the few women at Heritage Shores that had played in a golf league before coming to Heritage Shores. And when the league was established, she was elected as their vice president. There was a vacancy in the presidency because of someone leaving, so she moved up and became president, and then she served a term in her own. And a lot of the women that I've talked to have said that Muriel was their mentor. She told me once that I can't teach golf, but what I can do is encourage people to play golf. And that's what she did. She would go out with people and play golf with them. One of her friends told me that she wasn't a golfer, and the friend wasn't a golfer. And Muriel thought she should be a golfer. So on the way to the golf course, on many occasions, this friend told me that Muriel would stop at her house and say, "Come on, let's go play golf." And she did that so frequently that this individual said, "I've got to just go playing golf just to keep her quiet." So she went and learned how to play golf, and today she plays golf. Okay. Thanks to that encouragement by Muriel.
So Muriel's other love in life besides you and golf was the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, she was a huge Steeler fan.
We're going to ask a trivia question about the Steelers a little later on, but I wanted to get to the first trivia question. Mm-hmm. And in your book, in the beginning, you have several quotes. One quote is, "I would trade all of my tomorrows for a single yesterday." Okay. Is from the great song sung by Janet. I'm not Janet.
Christmas
I'm off today. uh, uh, anyway,
Chris
um,
Christopherson.
well,
Janis Joplin
Janis
also
Joplin,
sang
yeah,
it. She
Janis
also sang
Joplin,
it. Mhm.
and so the question is, who wrote the words to the song "Me and Bobby McGee"?
I kind of gave it
So
away.
again, so I'll trade all of my tomorrows for a single yesterday. Now you chose that phrase for a reason. So talk about that.
Yeah, it is actually the last quote in the book, and yeah, I made the comment before I used that quote that I was going to remember the good times that we had. That was going to be front and forward, and I was going to relegate Lewy body dementia to the trash can. And that kind of got me into that quote that, I would trade all my tomorrows for one single yesterday with her. And that I kind of, you know, took some of the words and put them into my own impression of the quote. My thing was I would trade all of my tomorrows for a single yesterday with Muriel.
So so that takes us to an inflection point, I think, in the discussion. Um, Here you're a 40-year bachelor,
Hmm.
probably at Heritage Shores, never thinking about you're going to meet somebody, and then through a twist of fate,
Mm-hmm.
happening on the golf course, you meet this wonderful woman that you fall in love with.
Right. Mm-hmm.
And then life turned on a dime. So
Mm-hmm. It
walk
did.
us through what happened when you think when you realized things were going from not so good to really bad, and how you guys battled through that.
Yeah.
And
She on one morning early in April of 2016, she uttered four words that will change our world. Her four words were, "I don't feel well." But at that time, obviously, it was not stressful because how many times have we said, "I don't feel well"? And she thought maybe she was getting a cold or that perhaps maybe she needed some adjustments in some of her medications. She wasn't sure what the issue was. And we didn't think much of it, but things didn't get better. In about a week, 2 weeks, things weren't really getting better. So, what's the thing you do first? You go to your personal physician. So, we made an appointment with our doctor, and he did blood work. And he said that everything looks fine. And he suggested maybe take a multivitamin pill. Well, things didn't get better. And there were some things that she started to complain about. One of the things was she was feeling very tired. Um, she had some aches in her back, and a couple of aches in her chest, some chest pains. And so towards the middle of April of 2016, it got so severe, particularly the chest pains, that we made a trip to the emergency ward. And we were there for about 5 hours, and they did all kinds of tests. And they suggested that she have a stress test and see a cardiologist, which we did do. The cardiologist did an examination, and he said, there's really no problem with the heart. See, everything seems fine. So we're still looking for answers. We're not getting the answers that we need. She decided that maybe we should see an endocrinologist because she had, as many individuals do, hypothyroidism, which she has a medication she takes for it, Synthroid, and she took for it. But maybe she needs an adjustment there. So we went there to the endocrinologist, and he said, or she said, "You're in the range, but you're getting a little older, so I'm going to make an adjustment." All right. and it doesn't help too much. So we go back to the doctor. Now, all these things are promising. The fact that maybe she needs to make the adjustment in her thyroid medicine. We went to the doctor again, and the doctor said that you have a severe deficiency of B12 vitamin. So we put her on once on Friday of every week for 6 weeks. We went for him to inject vitamin B12 into her. That was really exciting to us because the doctor was explaining this is what will be caused from a deficiency of vitamin 12. So we're thinking maybe we've solved the problem. But then there were some other things that I was noticing during the summer of 2016. Muriel was a good bridge player. She played bridge competitively with one of the other women at Heritage Shores in the competitive league. And she was really good at it. I didn't play bridge, but she decided that I should learn to play bridge. So because there was a couples bridge, which was more social, you go out to dinner, you play a couple of hands of bridge. I'd played cards, I played poker at the beginning, and I played canasta. So I said, yeah, I'll play. So I learned how to play bridge. My brother and sister-in-law live in the community. We practiced with them, finally got good enough to play. So we're playing in the league. First part of the league, I barely survived, but we're doing all right. But I was noticing some things because I had learned, and I was a little better at the game as time went by. And I noticed that Muriel was making some strange decisions. Sometimes she was playing the wrong card. Sometimes she was playing the wrong suit. And as a matter of fact, her other bridge partner saw some of the same things. So then this seemed to be getting worse. There seemed to be some confusion that she was going through. And talking with her family, with her daughter and her sons, it was decided that probably we should see a neurologist. Okay. Can you get the idea? We're going through a lot of doctors here.
Yeah.
To see a neurologist. So we went to a neurologist. And the first thing the neurologist would do is give a series of tests. And she asked Muriel to go like this, real fast as she could. And then she did one of the eye things. And then she asked her to name the present 5 or the most recent 5 presidents in reverse order. I think maybe I couldn't even do that, but that's what they asked her. And then they asked her to draw the clock and put the clock at 10 minutes after 11. Well, she had trouble with this part. She had trouble with the presidents, and she also had trouble with the clock. But I'm thinking she's in a doctor's office. You're going to be a little nervous. But then we started to having more frequent appointments with the neurologist. The neurologist would do that same test every time we went into the office. And after about 2 or 3 visits to the neurologist, she made a preliminary diagnosis. She believed that Muriel had Parkinson's disease. And she said the only way that we can determine that it's Parkinson's disease is by giving Muriel Parkinson's medication. If that medication helps, then that's what the issue is. If it doesn't help, then we got to look elsewhere. The most common form of Parkinson's medication is a medication called carbidopa-levodopa. She was given that medication, but she couldn't tolerate it at all. She was having nightmares with them. She was having REM sleep. REM sleep is when you're trying to act out your dreams. So the doctor took her off that medication and put her on another Parkinson's medication, which was ropinirole. We get to the point where we need to have some decisions, some diagnosis. We have Parkinson's as a diagnosis. So we decided to go get a second opinion at Johns Hopkins Geriatric Center. And Muriel's daughter, Susan, she set up an appointment there. And we went to John Hopkins. Her neurologist was fine with this. She gave us all the appropriate records. And the doctor at John Hopkins examined her, and he said he agreed with her neurologist, but he said he sees some other possibilities, and the other possibilities were Alzheimer's disease and Lewy body dementia. That's the first time we had heard that word, Lewy body dementia. I'd never heard of it before. That's the first time we heard it.
I don't think I'm familiar with it.
So we get back from that, and we go to her neurologist. We now have 3 possible diagnoses: Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and Lewy body disease. And the neurologist threw in one other one, cortical basal degeneration. So we asked, how do we find out what the actual diagnosis is? Is there a way we can get a definitive diagnosis? And she said the best way to do that is through a DAT scan. A DAT scan makes use of nuclear medicine, in which they do, it's like the machine is like, if you've ever had a PET scan where you have to go into, it's almost like going into a tube. And what happens is they shoot a medical radiation into the arm through a IV, and then you wait for about 5 hours for that to kick in. Then you go into this tube, and it takes an actual computer-generated image of the brain, so they can determine where. And I'll explain what happens to the brain when you have these neurological diseases, that you can see the unhealthy brain. And so the only place in Delaware that did that was up in the Christiana Hospital. So we went up to that hospital, and she had the DAT scan. And the DAT scan came back. It ruled out a lot of Parkinsonian diseases. And I think they pretty well ruled out Parkinson. And they thought the 2 ones that were most appropriate were Lewy body dementia and Alzheimer's. And then we went back to the neurologist, and the neurologist was the one that decided on Lewy body dementia, because what she did, and it was very good on her part, she went back through all the tests that we had. She had all the medications that she had taken, all the exams that she had given. And based on her observation, she said she thought the best diagnosis was Lewy body dementia. But then she said one other thing: we will not be able to get a definitive answer on this. That is not possible. The only way to get a definitive answer is through a post-mortem autopsy.
Wow.
And she said, this is my best professional, she used the word guess. Wow. So that's where we were. That's how we arrived at Lewy body dementia.
So that, that's tough news to take, because the only way you really find out is, after the fact. We have a winner on the trivia, the first trivia question. So Grace.
Yes. So our winner, Don gave it away a little bit.
I did give it away.
Our publisher was apparently listening. Mary Wadland got the correct answer with Chris Christopherson.
Yeah. I did. When I didn't read it close enough. On the
That's okay. That's all right. At least. So I'm going to give the second trivia question ahead of 2 things I want you to talk about. One is you now find your life changing to becoming a caregiver, and we'll talk about that. And the second thing I want you to talk about, is what more could people be doing about Lewy body dementia? Because it's obviously not a lot of people have heard about it. Right. So the second trivia question is, and again, this is in Muriel's honor. She was a big Pittsburgh Steeler fan. So, which Pittsburgh Steeler has the most Super Bowl rings? So, which player who played for the Steelers uh, has the most Super Bowl rings, not only during his time with Pittsburgh on the field, but after he left the game. So anyway, let's talk about the transition now. You've enjoyed life 6, 7 years, and things, you have another twist of fate, and you're now becoming a caregiver.
Yeah, yeah.
How are you affected by that?
Yeah.
And,
well, that was for me pretty dramatic because I'd always considered us to be partners. She was my partner, and what I was doing when we were trying to find the answer was still being her partner. I didn't really feel that I was a caregiver at that time. I know I was doing probably things that she might not have been able to do, but I just thought it was what you do as partners. So what you do. But and you see, this disease is a progressive disease. You do not know in the onset of the disease that you even have it, because it's such the progression of it is kind of a gradual progression. And if I could just briefly, because remember, I'm not a medical person, but just briefly give you an idea what happens to the brain with any neurological diseases. There is a common thread between all neurological diseases, whether it's Parkinson's, whether it's Alzheimer's, whether it's Lewy body dementia. And that common thread is the deficiency in the brain of a hormone known as dopamine. Dopamine is produced by brain cells that are called neurons. And when the neurons produce the brain cell, produce the dopamine, it's transmitted to the various parts of the brain. What this hormone does, what dopamine does, is it prevents the buildup of what's called alpha-nuclein protein clumps in the brain, basically toxic protein clumps in the brain. If the neurons are producing the dopamine and it's transmitted to the brain, you're going to have a healthy brain. If for some reason, and they don't know why, if for some reason the neurons stop producing the hormone, that's when you have an unhealthy brain. And this is gradual. So it's going to gradually start much before you know that you have a disease. How do they determine what disease you have? Is what part of the brain it affects first. If the first part of the brain is the motion, like mobility issues, then it's probably going to be a Parkinsonian disease. If the onset of the disease starts in the part of the brain that controls thought, that controls basically your cognitive functions, then it's going to probably be some form of dementia. So they know this much. They don't know why the neurons die. They're making progress, but they don't know why they die. So this is the things that when I realized that the disease was going to progress and there's nothing that we could have done to stop it. That twist of fate, the outcome of that twist of fate was inevitable. So that was the thing that was the hardest for me to deal with. Right. The fact that this disease it's no cure for it. There is absolutely no cure for them. And at least at this point in time. So then I realized as the disease progressed that I had to do more and more for her. And the thing that it really affected with Muriel was her ability to speak. And she was not able to communicate. When words came out, they weren't the right words for what she was talking about. And sometimes she couldn't even get the words out. That was very difficult for me to deal with in terms of, my own mental part. But, I'm her caregiver. I have to do what's necessary to help her and to keep her safe. And what I did, what I wanted to do was learn as much as I could about the disease, as much as I could. And another thing I felt I had to do was to provide some kind of encouragement to her, which she would get very frustrated, but I would try to keep trying to encourage her. As the disease progressed, and Muriel's family told me this a number of times, that don't take it personally, because her mental functions were there was a tremendous mood change in them. Some days she would be pretty happy. Other days she would be paranoid. Other days she would be agitated. And because I was there, I was kind of the target of this agitation. And as the disease progressed, it became more and more. So they said, don't take it personal. It's the disease. And I knew that. I knew that it was the disease, but it was still difficult to not, to feel that, that I couldn't do anything. I think that was the toughest part for me, that I couldn't do anything. I couldn't make any changes.
Yeah.
It was going to get worse, and there's nothing I could do to stop that.
Helpless feeling is never
it is
good.
a very helpless feeling. Mm-hmm.
So as we start to wrap up, two things. How do you want Muriel's friends and acquaintances to remember her? And then in closing, how do you remember her and keep her in your memories?
Well, her friends were awesome. And you've seen it on the entranceway to the 9th hole at Heritage Shores.
Yeah, 10th hole. Yeah, that's how we met, actually.
Yeah, they planted a tree in her honor.
Mm-hmm.
Her friends have constantly given me support. I would like Muriel to be remembered as a person that was kind, as a person that was she was kind of the life of the party. She had a laugh that was extremely infectious. If you went into a room, say the ballroom at Heritage Shores, and you stood there for a couple of minutes, and you would hear Muriel's laugh, you knew she was in the building. Muriel was in the building. For her, I think her friends remember her as a person that helped them, particularly in golf. And I tell them that tree, Muriel, she's standing in that tree and she's waving to you and she's telling you to have a nice round. And she's probably even going to go down the fairway with you a little bit. And she's going to tell you to keep your head down, because that was always to keep your head down. Keep your head down. And I think they're going to find a cure. Eventually, you're going to find a cure for these neurological diseases. They've made progress, and there's some things that are dramatic progresses, and they're going to change the whole game. Every cent that I make from this book goes to either one of the 4 Parkinson's foundations: Michael J. Fox Foundation, the Parkinson's Foundation, the Parkinson's Research Foundation, or the Lewy Body Association. And I've already been able to send a couple checks to them. I took a picture of the first check, and I have that on my wall. And why did I write this book? Why did a 77-year-old person decide that he was going to write a book? Well, that's the reason I wrote the book. I wrote the book for Muriel.
Where can our audience get the book?
You can buy it on Amazon.com.
Mm-hmm.
Just go to the search and type in two twists of fate, one wonderful and one devastating. You can buy it in the paperback form, such as on the screen there. You can also buy it as an ebook. I recommend the paperback because it's a better format for this type of writing. Email on it's readable. It's definitely the ebook's definitely readable, but that's more for an even flow novel type of book.
Right.
But you can do some things with an ebook you can't do with a paper book too.
Yeah.
So, and everything I make goes to research. My dad had Parkinson's disease when I was young, when I was growing up. So I've had this disease at two ends of my life, the beginning of my life and now in my golden years. And as far as Muriel's concerned, I was happy for the time we had together. Even when she was sick, we were still together. There's a quote at the beginning of the book by Michael J. Fox, and that is so true. Michael J. Fox said, whenever I'm having a good moment or a crappy moment, at least it's a moment and it leads to the next moment. And that's the way I felt about Muriel. Every moment I had with her, it led to the next moment. And that was that's what I was asking for.
That's a terrific way to look at things under such tough circumstances. And we have a winner on the second trivia question. Yeah. Both of our winners will get a copy of Don's wonderful memoirs, Two Twists of Fate. Mm-hmm. Grace?
Yes. So the correct answer was Joe Green, who I believe we discovered he had 4 as a player and then 2 as an executive, so 6 total.
One is a coach and 2. One is a coach and 1 is an executive. He had as a player and as a
player he had 4.
And the winner was Dan DiCerno. He had the right answer.
All right. Very good. So, Don, you've been a wonderful guest. I appreciate you coming on. It's a very touching story. As I was saying earlier, I think that's how you and I met. You were carefully manicuring the area around Muriel's tree, and I kind of asked you what was going on.
Take care of the tree. Yeah.
And it's wonderful, and I hope the sales are crisp we can donate. Maybe some of the viewers out there will also donate to any one of those foundations.
Yeah, I have copies of the book when you need them. And I appreciate you having me on to tell Muriel's story. And this is for Muriel and for my dad and his Parkinson's disease. So hopefully we can find a cure. At least make it a better quality of life.
I hope so too. There's a lot of things out there. Don, wonderful. I'll probably see you next Tuesday.
Yeah. If not sooner. Well, not before, but thank you very much for having me. I've
You're welcome.
Been very thankful for that. Thank you.
You're welcome. And in Grace, we're back on the end of May. I think it's May 31st with Ed Moser's recent book, The Lost History of the Capitol. And he wrote a book earlier about the area, the neighborhood around the White House. And this one will be around the Capitol. And
so that'll be good. You will be taking a little bit of a hiatus.
Heading to Europe for 5 weeks. So yes.
Wow, that'll be great. That'll be great.
And then we'll look forward to getting back on May 31st.
All right, May 31st, we will have it up. We will have it ready. We will be excited to have you back, but I know you're going to have a great time in Europe.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Ralph.
Good night.
All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed tonight's show. Really, really touching story. Really moving story. So Dan and Mary, congrats. You won the trivia. You will be getting a signed copy of Don's book. Like Ralph said, he will be out of the country. He will be back at the end of May, and we will let you know when that's happening. Until then, be the good news in someone's life.